Welcome to the Art of Lifting podcast. Today I am joined by Jackie. Did you want to just introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Jackie Malayter. I'm a 69 kilogram lifter from the United States.
Perfect. Thank you. That will do. I'm sure most people know who you are. Um, I always start these off just by asking people how they found powerlifting. It looks like you started competing in 2020. So like what, just after lockdown, just after COVID, well, middle of COVID, I guess. But I just wondered how you found the sport.
So, yeah, I did rowing in college in my undergrad. And when COVID happened, it was like near my senior year. So I knew that that was kind of the end of rowing for me. So, but I've always done like sports. So I was like, well, I could do bodybuilding because you don't really need a whole lot of equipment for that. But then I was like, well, I kind of like want to eat food. So I was like, what about powerlifting? My brother-in-law had mentioned that could be something that I would enjoy. So I kind of looked it up and followed this crappy little program I found on the internet. And then when lockdown kind of lifted, I found a gym that kind of in person trains powerlifters. And so that was like my introduction to lifting. And yeah, I did my first meet in October. So I started in May of 2020 and I competed for the first time in October 2020.
That's really cool. So you actually found a gym that taught people powerlifting in person, which is quite rare.
Yeah, so the gym, I think it closed down unfortunately, but it was called Force Barbell and it was really nice. Like they would do your weekly programming for you and you would come in and do your lifts there and they would have coaches on standby who would like give you pointers along the way, which is really nice when you have no idea what you're doing. Like you pretty much get instantaneous feedback.
That's really cool. I think a lot of us would have liked to have that option when we started. Like looking back at what people do when they first start, like that would have been really helpful. That's really cool though. That's a really nice idea. Like I wish that was more common.
I do too. I think honestly, if this whole grad school thing doesn't work out for me, I think it'd be really cool to have an in-person team of powerlifters. Because the other nice thing is having a community of people, and I just think that would be a really good business idea. I'm surprised that more people don't do it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that there aren't loads of powerlifting gyms in the area that I live in, but powerlifting gyms aren't like completely uncommon now. But having a powerlifting gym where you actually get that support and that help, and like it's in the roots of the gym to teach people what to do and have like the programming option available and stuff like that would be such a nice idea. I also wanted to ask you actually what you're studying because I know you said you were studying. What are you studying?
So I'm in the PhD program for electrical engineering. So that's really broad. Specifically, I do wireless communication. So designing next generation wireless systems. Um, Long story how I got there, but it's really interesting, but it's also really challenging. So
I'm not going to ask too many questions because I'm probably not going to understand the answers. So, but that's really cool. I like hearing people that like compete at a high level, but what they're studying or what they're doing is almost like completely separate. I think it's really interesting to ask people about that sort of thing. That's very cool. Have you got much left of your PhD? Yeah.
So I just did my prelim examination, so that makes me a candidate now, and so the general rule of thumb is you have at least a year after that. So I'm hoping for a year and a half, and then I'll peace out.
Nice. No, that's really cool. So you mentioned you did rowing. That was your main sport for powerlifting, but you did other sports too. Do you think rowing, I mean, I'm assuming it had a good carryover. I was thinking like, I wanted to ask you about your bench because I'm just in awe of big benches and obviously your bench is so good. As you said, rowing, I was like, this is adding up now. It's making sense. Do you think you got a good carryover from that? I'm assuming.
I think the the back strength of rowing definitely carried over. Because I don't know if you're like familiar with rowing, but it's a lot of the first part of the stroke is a lot of leg push. But then the end of the stroke is you're essentially just doing a, you could think of it even as like a barbell row, repetitively. So you do, it's like in is it anaerobic or aerobic? I'm not an
It'd be
exercise
anaerobic would
person.
be like a quick bit of power would be anaerobic. So
Oh, so it's more of like an
I guess it
aerobic
kind of be both though,
exercise.
yeah, because it's obviously it's
Yeah.
not just like one like a power lift like lifting powerlifting would be anaerobic because you're not taking in air. Well, obviously with
Yeah.
that you need the force and you're going to continuously go. So yeah, I think aerobic. But I guess that
Yeah.
then as well, it would have also I think it would have just set you up to be strong. A
Yeah.
good
I
strong
mean,
back skill powerlifting.
you get a lot of muscular development that way. And we also trained like cable rows a lot. So um that definitely helps with my back strength. I think that I came into powerlifting with like a really beefy back. So but I
Yeah.
also have short arms, so that definitely helps my bench too.
With that, like I mean, I feel like you're a very balanced lifter across the board. Like all three of your lifts are kind of a normal balance. Like you don't have one that I would like saying you've got the short arms and stuff. I'm like, well, your deadlift's still good. So like, it doesn't. Do you have a favorite lift? Do you have one that you prefer, or that you're just more confident in?
I think it depends on the time. I think squat is probably like it squat is like probably right now like the lift I have to focus on the most. Just because like I don't have like particularly short femurs. So it's not something that comes like
Cool.
extremely naturally to me. But most of the times like I'll just like rip out reps. Like um there's definitely like thought that goes into it, but bench kind of comes a bit more naturally when you have short arms. And deadlift was a struggle for a long time, but I'm learning how to do it, like how to make it work for my body type, and it's becoming enjoyable when you kind of like get the swing of it.
Yeah. Am I right? Are you coached by Kelly Mann now? Am I right in thinking that? Or have I got
Yeah,
that?
I've been coached by Kelly for probably a year and a half now.
Yeah, because I mean, she's a great coach, obviously. Anyway, like she coaches a lot of amazing lifting. And I was going to say, like one thing with her, I feel like I see her post a lot about biomechanics and like individual differences and stuff. So I guess she's a really good person to teach you and help you guide you to deadlift for your body rather than just trying to obviously copy what other people are doing.
Yeah, so Kelly has a background in I think exercise physiology. So a great knowledge base there exists, and Kelly definitely has like an eye for detail. So she'll tell me to like, you know, do this thing, and has like we can have a discussion about like what she wants my body to do, which I think is really nice. And I don't have to like look at other people to understand like what my deadlift will look like. Well, I look at Meg a lot because we both have short arms. But yes.
Yeah, I feel like everyone just looks up to Meg. She's insane. I had her on the podcast recently. I was like, I feel like I'm gonna have to try not fangirl because I feel like again the bench thing. Like I love big benches and just watching her bench. And also, I spoke to her about the sinking bench as well because I was like, I'm just so fascinated by her lifts. Like she's such a good lifter. Obviously, you are also a very good lifter. But yeah, I think Meg is someone that I think a lot of people look up to in the sport.
Yeah, I also look up to Meg because like I think there's always like these hype around young lifters, like, oh, like they're so young, they have so much potential. But I think Meg is like an example of you can be in the sport for a long time, and with the right coaching and the right mindset, you can. I mean, she's still like progressing like a newbie in some ways, and I think that's really inspiring because I think you know by being, I mean, she's not old, but like being older relative to to the I think like median powerlifting age, like there could be some like negative self-talk, like, oh, like I don't have that much more in me. I'm too old, but Meg is like, that's BS. Like, I mean, it's just BS. Like, and I think that's really inspiring. Um, it gives me hope that I have many more years in the sport where I can keep it getting better.
Yeah, I completely, and actually, that's something I think of as well with her. Like, she's proved, I said to her on the podcast, she's proved to me one thing, that like if I did decide to have kids at some point, it doesn't mean my lifting career is over, but also like you can still get stronger into your mid-30s. I don't know if she's mid-30s, late, like going into late 30s, like she's still progressing, like you said, almost like a newbie in some ways, and she's doing so well. And I don't know how closely you watch powerlifting and how much you watched Worlds, but her competing and winning at the same time as Durin's was like two people in their 30s with kids, like seeing them both win was just such a big thing of like, you're not past it when you're 26, 27, like 28, like you can keep going into your 30s
Yeah.
and progress.
Yeah. And I, so like, yeah, I think that's like one of the most inspiring things about her. So
No,
yeah.
I completely agree. I completely agree. We're going to go back to you now. I wanted to ask what your training was like. So you said you've kind of got a lot of focus on squat at the moment, but what's your like training like during the week? Like, what's your frequency on each lift? How many days a week do you do them?
So I train 5 days a week. I bench each of those days. Always benching. I think, I think with proper load management, you can get away with benching very frequently. Maybe if you have like giraffe arms, that's a different story. But I think for a lot of people, it's just a matter of like getting the right rep range and whatnot. But I have 2 primary days on bench, so bench heavy twice a week. The rest are like, technique days or rep work, things like that. Which has worked pretty well for me. Um, I squat 3 days a week. So my first day, well, we changed things up, but one of the days is high bar. And then I have a lot of tempo work and then my primary day. Um, and tempo work has been helpful because it's just like slowing things down and like thinking about what you're doing out of the hole and like really trying to use my legs and not my back. It's been really helpful. So I'm excited when we kind of peel back some of that volume and see where I'm at strength wise, top end. And then deadlift twice a week. I I kind of have to be like a bit careful about my rep work on deadlift because I do have like, relative to like other people in my size who have longer arms, I like have a little bit longer for it to pull the bar off the ground. So I just got to be careful not to like overshoot my rep work because I will cook my back. um, but that's it's been like a helpful learning experience. Like I can see people like ripping out crazy rep sets, but then like my top end is still really strong. So just like not I guess comparing myself and like just staying in my own lane on those has been really helpful. But yes, it's that's my frequency.
I think that's interesting what you said about obviously with deadlifts, like you have to be a bit more careful. You're not necessarily built as well to deadlift. So you have to adjust and not maybe do as much rep work or as much volume because it's just going to fry your back because you have that little bit further to go. As you were saying that, it actually made me think of Sophia Ellis, the 76 British lifter. She has an insane deadlift, but she has insanely long arms. So I always see her posting her deadlift rep work and she's doing like, can't think of the number, but like such high reps, such heavy weight. And it's just like, I just watch them like, how can you recover from this? But she's just built to lift like that. And if you're not built to deadlift, you can still deadlift a lot. You just don't need to maybe deadlift as often or as high reps because you're just going to fry yourself. And then I guess that would potentially then carry over to your squat days and just fatigue you.
Yeah, and I think coming to that realization has been really helpful for me. Like it's taken me a while to like realize that, but like my last meet, I which was kind of just a train through meet, but like the week before, I didn't really like push my last heavy deadlift. I think I just pulled 210, and it was like not the best reps either. And I'm like, it's whatever. Like it's a train through me. Like I'm not gonna be upset that this isn't the like heaviest last pull that I wanted to do. But then I got to the platform and I pulled 220, and it was like RP 7.
I
So
feel like
it's
you had
just,
an insane. That was the scary strong meet, right?
yeah.
I haven't watched the full meet through, but I watched a lot of people's like recaps and I watched things back after. And I feel like you had such a good day. You know, like you were just having so much fun on the platform.
Yeah, like, and I think that was like kind of an educational experience for me. It's like sometimes you get so worked up about the big meets and nationals that you kind of like it kind of has like a negative effect on your day. Like sometimes you just need to like step back and be like, I'm gonna focus on me, and I'm just gonna focus on like what I'm doing and like performing the way that I know I can. Because like at the end of the day, worrying about your competitors, it's not really your job, it's your coach's job. So yeah, that's why I think people should do more train through meets, honestly.
Yeah. That's actually something Meg said as well, because I think she just did one as well. And it was just before she did that we were speaking. And I know she does them quite often too. But I think it's a really important thing. And I think that's something I really want to do next year, because this year I did 3 quite big meets. And I was like, well, by the end of the year, I just was like, I'm just going to have fun. I'm just going to enjoy it. But obviously, because like for me, I was just trying to podium at my last 2. And I was like, well, I'm putting so much pressure on myself to podium that I'm not actually fully enjoying it. So I've said next year I want to at least like my first comp of the year. I'm just going to do a regional, like a local level meet, and I'm just going to go in at the end of a block and I'm just going to have fun and just kind of load up and just not care, because it doesn't really
Yeah,
matter. And I think people forget that even when it's a high pressure meet, like you're still supposed to have fun with this. Like most of us aren't getting paid to be here, so
exactly. Yeah, so plus it feels good. Like it reminds you of why you started in the first place. Like I think like only doing high level meets can kind of just kill the joy of powerlifting. Like I think most of us didn't start this sport like thinking like, how do I say this? When I started powerlifting, I was like, yes, like I want to end up at the top. But knowing it takes a long time to get there, there's like you have to have fun along the way. Like unless you're like a crazy masochistic person, but I think if we all came in with the mindset that it's not about fun, it's only about winning, like you're just gonna burn out so fast.
yeah, I completely agree. Like it has to be fun. And like you say, like even if you have the goal of being at the top, if you don't just have fun along the way and enjoy the process, you're probably gonna give up before you get there anyway. Like you need to enjoy
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, because that's too. And it's like it can be really frustrating. So if you don't have the like part where you're like actually enjoying training and actually enjoying competing, like again, like it's just a recipe for burnout. Like so I think that it's important. You can have the goal of like wanting to be at the top, but like for your insanity, probably like, do some fun things on the side, like, and just, get some of that joy and excitement that you might not be able to like feel in the moment of a high stress meet.
Yeah, I completely agree. I also wanted to ask you actually, like you mentioned that obviously from the beginning you kind of wanted to get to the top, but was there a point when you realized that you are really good at this sport and that you can get on like the American team? Like obviously last year you were in a really close battle at nationals. Like was there a moment when you were suddenly like, oh wait, no, I am really good at this sport?
That's a good question. I think the moment where I felt like I could potentially, make it to the top was probably my first nationals. So in this is 2023. So USAPL nationals in
Yeah.
last September in 2023. I had just let go of my prior coach, and I at that point my strength was like regressing, and I was really down about it. Like I was like, oh man, like I wanted to be really good, and it's hard to imagine that when like you have a series of terrible meets. um and then I hired my coach, Kelly, and we went to Raw Nationals, and I pulled like a 15 kilo PR on deadlifts. Like I went from seated like ninth or 10th to like nearly fourth place, almost third. Um,
I'm
and
looking
it
at your
just,
deadlift. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you there. Did you miss your first two deadlifts at Raw Nationals and then jump to 210 and hit it?
yeah,
What?
uh, that was stressful. um, so what happened was, I don't know, like my theory was that I just peaked so well that like I kept speed bobbling them. So I would like dip a little bit at the top. Like that had never happened to me before, like ever in training. Um, but I was like, well, I'm like, I would rather try to pull for podium and bomb out than like take a conservative deadlift. Like I don't care. Like I knew that the strength was there for 210. And so I'm like load it up. I'm gonna be so angry if you don't. So we did, and I got it.
I mean, that must have also boosted your confidence going forwards, right? Like after being in a bit of a rut with competing to then pull that off as well.
Yeah, I was like, it showed me that I could in the moment be a competitor. Um, that like things might not go my way and I could still put something, you know, I mean, that was a 22 and a half kilo PR that day. Like, um, it was just, there were a lot of bad things that happened that day. Like, my second squat, uh, the rack height was set wrong. So I had to go at the end of the flight and essentially follow myself on my third squat. So like there were a lot of if I wasn't locked in, there were a lot of things I think that could mess me up mentally, and I didn't let it happen, and I was really proud about that.
That's crazy. But no, it's a learning curve, isn't it? I guess like if you can still have a good performance and hit a PB total, like a good PB total as well, on a day where things were not in your favor, like after not, I guess maybe from what you were saying, it kind of sounds like you were getting to the point where you thought maybe this was kind of it and that was as good as you were going to kind of be. And then you've
Yeah.
come back and you've hit that PB and kind of proved to yourself, oh wait, no, I'm still getting better. And obviously your total has just continued to skyrocket since then.
Yeah, it was I think it was like a pivotal meet for like boosting my confidence, and I was like, man, like anything's possible now.
Yeah. What was your decision to then move over to Powerlifting America? Was it following the competition? Was it because you wanted to go for that world spot? What was the decision behind that?
So my coach encouraged me to, like Kelly, of course, because most of her lifters are in the IPF already. Um, there were a lot of things that I was unhappy about in the USAPL. Like there were a lot of things on meet day that I'm like, that shouldn't have happened for a national level meet. You can cut this out if you want to. Um, but I was like, this isn't I want to go to a different federation where I think that, these administrative errors essentially on meet day at a national championship, I don't think that they're going to happen with the frequency that they happened at USAPL. Um, so I was like, I had a lot of people tell me that it was a bad idea. Like, they're like, oh, well, like, what is there for you if you don't get the world spot? And I just didn't really care. Like I after that meet, I'm like, well, anything's possible. Like, it's gonna be hard to like beat, Gabby and Chelsea, with a pretty quick turnaround after nationals. But I would rather try, um, and rise to the level of, in my opinion, tougher competition. So I didn't really think about it that long. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. Like, this is the right step for me.
Yeah, and I think as well, like you were close with Gabby and Chelsea. Like that was a battle the whole way through. I think you and Chelsea were only a few kilos apart on total. I just had a look. Like you were in contention for the world spot. Like I remember watching that battle. Like the squat session was insane, and like the whole session itself was so good. Like there's no reason why. Fair enough, you didn't make the team this year, but also that was probably the craziest powerlifting American nationals they've had so far, right? And you've proved
Yeah.
you can keep up. So this year, or like this year now coming, who knows what's going to happen? Like I guess it opens that door, doesn't it? And there's other meets as well. I don't know how the selection works or what your thoughts are on doing. I've forgotten what it's called. That's really good, isn't it?
NAPF?
That's the one. That's the one. But yeah, there's other meets that you could potentially do, right? So it doesn't have to be worlds necessarily.
Yeah, and so there's NAPF, which I opted not to do this year because I did qualify for that team. But also SBD runs they have like different, hello dog.
He's eating things he's not meant to.
SBD started running like, I call it like American Sheffield.
Yeah, Raleigh.
Yeah, so it'll be in a new city next year, but like it gives lifters who didn't make the world's team like an option to also be competitive. And sometimes these meets can be just as competitive as the sometimes even like worlds. Like I remember Joe Bornstein like broke the unofficial world record. So yeah, it gives other exciting opportunities for other very talented lifters.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Raleigh, it's like it was such an exciting meet. Like we say, like it was just as competitive as well. It's really like fair enough. You weren't vying for a world championship. It wasn't a national meet. You couldn't break records, but the roster was so incredible anyway. It was still worth doing, and it was an amazing opportunity, obviously, to go and to do that. Obviously, you earned your spot there. What was that meet like to compete in?
I was pretty cool. Like I definitely felt it. There's something to be said about being on the platform with many of the people had been to worlds before. Like they are all very established lifters. So like that felt really cool that I was on the stage with that caliber of lifter. And I don't know, I wasn't really focusing on the competition a whole lot. I didn't know that I was like in the lead for a while. Um, so yeah, like I obviously I wish deadlifts would have showed up a bit more on the day, like, but that meet kind of gave me a fire to like figure out my deadlifts because I feel like that's what I lost the meet on. And like being close to winning and then like missing out, like it stinks, but I think that I took away what I needed to at that meet. I was like, we're gonna figure this shit out right now. And
Yeah.
I think I have. Like I came back in November to Scary Strong with like a completely different pull.
Yeah.
And yeah.
What was your final? I don't think I've seen it. I can't remember if I have seen it, but what was your final pull like at Scary Strong? So you pulled 220 as your third and you got it. and then you pulled 215 at Raleigh and then missed 217. Was the 220 more comfortable as well than the 215 from Raleigh, do you think? Or was it?
Oh yeah, the 215 at Raleigh, it felt like everything I had. I was like, yeah, I mean, the 2.5 kilo jump was the right call. Yeah.
So you put 5 kilos on your deadlift from one meet to the next in what, 3 months? That's gone really quickly. And there was probably still room there. So you've definitely figured out that deadlift. And to place second with the Raleigh roster as well is insane. Like, you've proved that you're in contention for that world spot, I guess. Is that kind of the next goal for next year? Like, are you thinking about that? Or are you just kind of thinking, just going to do nationals, going to do my best, see what happens?
No, I think about it like every time I train. I was like that's the goal. Like obviously I can't control how the other competitors do, and like how well their training's going, but what I can control is like getting in the gym and having the best day that I can, and like being intentional every day. Um, so yeah, like I have like my goals taped to my wall in my garage gym with my goal numbers and like my mantra. Um, so I think about it a lot.
I like that answer. I like that answer. I feel like people are normally like, I'm just going to see what happens on the day. But I mean, it's going to make you try harder, right? Like, you've got this goal. It's within reach. Obviously, you can't control what anyone else does, but even if you turn up and you don't make it, at least you know that you have literally done everything you can to make that
Yeah.
progress, right?
Yeah, and like I know that like it's gonna be tough. Like the roster this year is gonna be even more stacked than it was last year. Like, and I don't know if like some of the juniors will be joining us in the battle, but like there's a few good juniors who could like, make a run for their money. But I feel like in a way I still feel like I'm relatively new to the sport. And I was like, I just feel like I have so much room to grow. Uh, so it gives me confidence and like I'm not the same lifter I was last year. I've my mindset has like changed. I've become way more intentional in the gym. Why not me? Like I'm gonna put up a fight.
I love that answer. I love that answer. And what you said as well about still being relatively new to the sport, like, you've been around what, 4 years pretty much, right? Or yeah, 4 years. It's literally 4 years from your first meet to your last meet. But your first nationals was only 2023, right? So although you've been around, like, I guess you hadn't competed necessarily at that level. And yeah, you're still learning. Like, 2020, 4 years is not long to do a sport for either. At what point did you get your first coach? You said you were following a program that you kind of found online for the first meet. Did you get a coach quite soon after your first meet, or did that take you a while as well?
It was kind of like so the people at Force in May of 2020, like they coached me, and then I went to school in August and I had like someone write me programs for a while. And then my first online coach I got like a month before. Let's see. I had someone write me programs for a really long time. And then I don't remember when my first Arnold was, but a month before that I hired my first like online coach.
So that was March
So
22 was the Arnold you did. So yeah, that was
yeah.
2 years, almost 2 years into the sport, I guess, 18 months into the sport.
Yeah, so I had a little bit of coaching before then, but a lot of it was like program writing. So, yeah, I got my first online coach like in I guess early 2022.
Yeah, yeah, it's still relatively new. And how is training going at the moment? From what I'm seeing on Instagram, it's looking very good. But how are you feeling? How is training going?
Pretty good. I have a big SBD day tomorrow, which I'm really excited for. um, I'm pretty deep in volume right now, so like the fatigue is high, but I know when we like peel back those layers, um, I I'm feeling really good about what's gonna come out of that.
That's really good to hear. That's really good to hear. So I'm assuming you're not doing any more meets now until nationals, because it's what, April time?
Yeah, correct.
I was going to ask as well. So you obviously just kind of trained into Scary Strong. So you didn't cut weight or anything. You competed as a light 76. Do you see yourself staying 69 like kind of for good? Do you think at some point you might consider moving up? Like, is it hard for you to maintain 69 at the moment or not really?
Um, Not really. So I did like Scary Strong was kind of at the end of like a little bulk I was doing. Um, I think my body like really likes to sit around 71 kilos. So, I mean, going into a meet, I might cut back my calories a little bit. Like, I don't like to sit too heavy above my weight class, but I think for the time being, I'll be a 69 for a while, and then there'll probably be a point where I'm like, get a lot, like, more muscle, and then it's like just harder to be that lean. And I might consider going up to 76, but I think I'm happy right now at 69. I don't feel like I have to like, restrict my calories a whole lot. If I need to like lose a kilo, I just up my cardio a bit. But I think my body is like naturally okay with being here right now.
Yeah, I think naturally sitting around 71, 69 is perfect. Definitely. And you've been around that same weight since you started looking at open powerlifting as well. Like, kind of
Mhm.
fluctuated between like what, 67 and like you were 72.8 at Scary Strong, but like you said, it was kind of the end of the bulk. I don't know if you ate and stuff before weigh-ins as well, potentially. But yeah,
I had like
generally
I had all you can eat sushi the day before that, and I
nice.
weighed in. I was like, "Oh my god!"
Nice. Nice. That's the key to big deadlifts, clearly.
Yeah, I was like, "I'll probably regret this tomorrow, but I don't care."
That's funny. You obviously we said earlier, right, Meg, being like an inspiration to kind of prove that you can keep progressing even in your 30s. Like you can keep, I say even in your 30s, making it sound like she's super old. She's really not at all. She's still so young,
I know
really.
you gotta like preface it with like she's not old, but like in the world of athletes,
Yeah.
like but
It's towards
powerlifting's
the end
different.
of the open, isn't it? Well, if you decide to move up to masters. But what I was actually going to ask you is, do you see yourself powerlifting kind of for the next like 10 plus years? Like, do you think you are going to always powerlift to some degree? Or do you think it's going to be while you're competitive, while you're improving, you're going to keep going? Or what are your thoughts on how long you'll be in the sport for?
Yeah, I mean, like right now, the goal is to compete for as long as like I keep enjoying it. Um, like certainly like life gets in the way sometimes, but I think powerlifting is something I use to like do I guess find it more enjoyment. Like it enhances my life. Um and obviously I'm like single, so like kids aren't a worry right now. So like I'm sure having kids, puts a delay in that. But yeah, for the time being, I don't see myself stopping.
Yeah. I think I like what you said about obviously like it brings some enjoyment and stuff. But I don't know if you're the same, like I think having to train and having set days that I train, set kind of times roughly that I train, or like it gives me more structure to my week outside of just like work or whatever else I'm doing. Like it allows me to just have more structure in my week, which I think in turn actually also makes me happier because I know I have set things to do. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, like it definitely builds like structure in your life, which I definitely thrive off of that.
I also wanted to ask you about comparison. So you briefly mentioned earlier that obviously you used to kind of compare people's deadlift volume and stuff like that to what you were doing. It kind of made you maybe feel like you weren't necessarily doing enough for deadlift or something along those lines. Do you find yourself comparing to lifters quite a lot? Do you find motivation from comparing yourself to other lifters, or are you quite good at just staying in your own lane, focusing just on you?
I don't really like to look at my competitors. I just don't think that it's like I don't think that it's like beneficial for me to do that. Like some people get hyped up about it, but I just like I'm like because at the end of the day, like watching someone's training and like speculating how they're gonna do on meet day, it's like not even like accurate half the time. Like someone could have like crazy rep work and PRs and like totally shit the bed meet day, and then like some people can like look like training is just going okay, and then like have a fantastic meet day. So it's like I try not to like read into it too much because like why I could just focus on myself. That being said, I do like watching like people like Agatha because I'm just like that's what's possible. Like being like I'm well if she can do it then I'm like I probably can someday. Like why not? But I've never like actually gone head to head with her, so like maybe that's why it's different.
Honestly, like Agatha comes up in these conversations so much. Like, obviously, she at the moment, like, she is like she's the best female lifter at the moment. Like, she's insane, and what she's doing is insane. But it's that thing of she has just proved what is possible. I know she's essentially, well, she's a full-time athlete, so she has that advantage, but she's not been around that long. She's young. I don't even know if she did
Yeah.
much sports before. Don't think I've heard her say that she's always done loads of sport. I think she just likes the gym. And yeah, she's proving what's possible. Like for a woman to bench like in the 160 range at what, like I think 76-ish normally, that's
Hmm.
insane, but it's possible. Now that she's done it, how many other there are a lot of women, like, I mean, I don't know what your bench is in training at the moment, but like, your best comp bench is what, 135. Like for females to be benching around the 140 mark a few years ago was either like an absolute anomaly or just unheard of completely. But now it's
Hmm.
like more and more women across different weight classes as well, like not just in the heaviest classes are doing this. And it's like, how is that possible? But seeing someone else do it first, obviously, it's like a knock-on effect. Other people are going to be like, well, I can do that if she can do that. And it's going to kind of have that trickle-down effect, I guess.
Yeah, it's like this really weird psychological phenomenon. I definitely saw it with squat too. Like, I think a couple years ago, like a 400-pound squat around my weight class was like insane. And now it's like, it's still really impressive, but like a lot of people can do it now. So, I don't know if that's like improvement in like training or coaching or like oh, well, if they can do it, then I can do it. Or probably a combination of both. But it's interesting to like to see or like even like look at the world record from like a few years ago. It was like 2 years ago, it was like 550 kilos in my weight class, and I'm like, I could
No,
probably do that now on like a pretty like hard training day if I really needed to. Like
how do you feel about Agatha obviously competing in the 69s at the moment? Like, do you see it as, I think I had Gabby on and she basically said like it's almost like you have to just stand back and just watch what she's doing and be like you're incredible, like as a fan, rather than being like you're my competitor, I have to try and get to where you are. Do you kind of feel the same in that, just see what's possible, she'll move up, and then you guys are then gonna, like, you can get that strong, like you just have to keep
Mhm.
going and keep trying, right?
Yeah, I like in some respects, I feel like I've been described as like a dark horse before. Um, I would love to like one day just, smoke 600 plus and like no one see it coming. Like that would like, and I think I can do it. And I just like, so I find it just inspiring. I'm not like, oh shit. Like, no, I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm next. Let's do this.
That's definitely the attitude to have, though. And you hit 552, which, looking at open powerlifting, 5 kilo total PB, but you hit 552 at a train through meet. Like, that was, like, I'm assuming volume was still pretty high then. Like, you've literally just walked into a meet, you've competed for fun, and you've walked away with 552. What's going to happen when you strip that volume back? I mean, as much as all you can eat sushi the day before was probably great, it also probably wasn't the best thing you could eat the day before a meet either. Like,
No,
pros and
yeah.
cons, right? So what, like, yeah, where are you going to be in April, which is still a good few months away as well. Like, April's not super close. Like, you've still got time. And then the following year, like, where are you going to be? Like, 600, I think it's going to be insane to see how many women get close to 600 in the 69s over the next year, 2 years. Like, I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I foresee to win nationals, it's probably gonna be 570 plus kilos.
Yeah. And I'm really excited for American Nationals this year because you've got Celine Crum moved up. Kristen Dunsmore was in USAPL before, right? She just moved over?
No, she was in the IPF. She took I think a break for grad school maybe. But
yeah,
it seems like she's back now.
Yeah. So you guys in the top 30, so you, Gabby, Celine, Chelsea, Kristen, like, you're all in the 500 plus.
Mm-hmm.
Gabby, Celine, 550s, you 540. Oh no, you're 550s now too. It's just the oral total on there, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
3 of you are already in the 550s. Chelsea's training looks like it's going insane. Like, yeah. It's going to, like, last year's battle was amazing. This year is going to be another level, potentially. You might be in the 600. You might be fibbing us all here, and you're actually already at the 600s. Like,
I no, I have not totaled. That would be so sick, but no.
Imagine if you do just turn up and you're like, I've won this on my openers, guys. This isn't a battle.
No, it will be all the battle that it's hyped up to be. I am certain, because everybody in that weight class is a competitor. Like, we all just have this fire on meet day. Like, it's gonna be a battle, which I'm excited for. Like, competing in a battle is like really fun and like really stressful, but fun.
What are you like on meet day? Are you quite in the zone, serious? Are you more of a just have fun? Like, what are you like on meet day?
I never look at the scoreboard. Like, they put it on the projector in the warm-up room last year, and I just didn't even look in that direction. And very, like, I think people could probably like think that I'm like mean or something, but I just don't even like look at my competitors. Like, not in a mean way though. I just don't, like, it's not, I'm just so focused on what I'm doing. Like, which I think I like communicated that to them beforehand. I'm like, hey, like, let's say hi, but also I'm gonna zone out. I'm very like just like in my own space, like listening to like my music really loud, like visualizing my lifts. Like, I'm just very I guess you could say like detached from, yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing is, like, I think most people, like, if you compete fairly regularly, no matter what level you're at, you're going to know your competitors, right?
Yeah.
But I think no matter how good friends you are with your competitors on meet day, it's not common to sit and chat. Like, I think most people, to at least to some degree, do just zone in on their own thing. Kind of like, I competed at British Nationals a few weeks ago, and like the 80, like, it was the biggest class of 84s we've ever had. And I was so, the only reason I entered really was because I wanted, because they've changed our British from next year, where it's only 14 per weight class. And this year was the first time we had over 20 women in the 84s. So I was just going to be like, I just want to hang out with everyone. And I am a chatterbox on meet day. Like, I will just talk and talk and talk. And I don't like to think about what I'm doing. I like to just, like, almost like FBD day with friends. But I know that the girls that I compete with a lot aren't like that. They want to they get on with me outside of competition day, like, but on comp day, they are just in their own zone. They're just going to do their own thing. And I don't think people ever would take that personally, would they? Like, you know that everyone has to do their own thing to get their best performance. And if they have, like, if you're someone that especially trains kind of on your own with headphones in or whatever, you're going to want to do the same thing on meet day.
Yeah. So, and I think like probably a couple of the lifters are like that in my weight class. Like I'm pretty sure like Gabby's also kind of like that. Um, I wouldn't really know about Chelsea because again, I wasn't really paying attention. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to see you guys all compete again. Like it's going to be fun. Do you think you'd do NAPFs if you didn't make the world team again, or do you think it's not probably worth it for you?
Um, I think it really depends. I think it depends on like what the competition's gonna look like there. I think, you know, if there was like the potential to have like a decent battle, it might be worth going. I think so, yeah, but otherwise I would probably, if I qualified, do the SPD meet, or I don't know if you could do both, but yeah. Um,
Have they said where the next SPD one's going to be? Not that I will probably know where it is, but
I think they know where it is, but yeah.
okay, we'll keep that quiet. um, I only really want to ask one more thing, and that was actually about if you do make the world's team, which hopefully you do, how do you feel about the short turnaround? Because you're going to be in a big battle at Powerlifting American Nationals. Like you're going to pretty much guaranteed have to go all out. And then I think it's a 6-8 week turnaround to Worlds.
Yeah, it's not very long. I think it'll be something that I worry about a lot when I get there. Yeah, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. Like, I imagine that I don't even know if you would peak the same for it, to be honest with you. Um, it's hard to say. I definitely don't think it's ideal timing. But I think that in coming years, they're going to try to like fix the national schedule so that we're not doing that. I think it's really tough on a lifter's body to expect to like hit two crazy totals within essentially a month and a half of each other. But especially like if it was my first worlds, like I just think I would be grateful to like just have the opportunity to go and experience it. And like most of the time, I think people like don't put up their biggest total at worlds anyways because they're trying to like fight for placing the whole time. So I think people play a little bit more conservatively. So I just think, yeah, I think we'd be like, well, it's annoying, but like we're just gonna make the best of whatever a 6 or 8 week prep.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. Like I just did a 6 week turnaround between I did Commonwealth and then I did our British, and I had a 6 week turnaround, and I was really stressing over it. But I was like, do you know what? I kind of took the pressure off for British anyway, and was like, just have fun. But actually, I think the only thing I really did differently was I just didn't push my accessories at all in that 6 week turnaround. Like I did like 2 little 3 week blocks. And then on my third week of the first block, I was like, okay, I'll go like maybe a little bit lighter than I normally would for an end of block. And then I just pushed that little bit harder for those final 3 weeks. And I mean, for me, that worked really well. And I felt kind of fresh going in. But it's one of those things where you just worry about it when the time comes, right? Like you've got to make the team first, which obviously with your weight class is going to be difficult. Like it's going to be difficult to do. So you might as well just worry about one thing at a time. And also, it's Kelly's job to get you to Worlds, right?
Yeah, like Kelly's kind of a genius, so Kelly will know exactly what to do to get the most out of it. I mean, I trust Kelly.
Yeah. I think that's a big thing as well. It's just knowing that you fully trust your coach, so you'll be fine. Like just do what they say, trust that they've got it right, and go in. And first ever Worlds, you just want to soak up the experience more than it. Obviously, you still want to do well, but soak up the experience, right?
Yeah, and like, I mean, Agatha's claiming that she's going to compete as a 69 at Worlds again. So it's like, well, I'm not going to say Sheffield's not on the line, but
You know, you might be at 620 by then. You never know.
yeah, unless something, unless Agatha like bombed out, I foresee her probably winning.
Yeah, maybe we'll wait
Yeah.
and see, right? But no, I think I don't think I had anything else I really want to ask you about. I did want to ask if there's anything that you've got coming up you wanted to speak about or anything you wanted to say. Kind of give you a chance to shout anything out.
I don't think so.
If people want to find you on socials, I'm going to let you say your Instagram handle because I love it so much.
Oh, it's at I am Pizza Princess. Yes,
It-
most people know me as Pizza Princess and not Jackie. So,
Is there a story behind that before we go?
I've worked at like 5 or 6 different pizza restaurants. Like in high school, I worked at pizza places. In college, I worked at pizza places. Like, and I worked at like different ones. So I just have a lot of background in pizza, I guess.
Fair enough. That's a good
I'm
answer.
like,
No, I think people should go follow you though. Your training's really cool. And it looks like it's going really well. I'm really excited to see what you do next year. And I just want to say thank you again for coming on.
yes, thank you for having me.